Welcome everyone to our webinar section for SIPROTEC 5 Compact, Universal Protection Device. My name is Vinny and I'm glad to be the moderator in this webinar. Today, I'm giving to you a virtual tour in this webinar for the brand new solution, the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, a versatile device for your medium voltage application. Before we start with the expert presentation, let's check if the setup is working. We have prepared two short polls, and the first question is, can you hear us and see? You can find the poll on your top right corner here, but the poll is not visible in the full screen mode. You might want to press escape in your keyboard to have access for the poll. Just give some seconds that you can be familiar with the environment, but please answer your question here. Good. And just give some hints to you for this presentation. If you have some problem and with your browser, please refresh the browser, pressing F5 in your keyboard. The solution, the webinar solution works better with Chrome browser. Prefer to use a wired LAN connection. And if you have some VPNs tunneling, and please switch off. And yes, we're gonna record this section, and you're gonna receive after this presentation an email with the link and also the slides. And all the registered participants gonna receive this email, potentially tomorrow. Now, let's move for the second poll question, and you're gonna see again on the top right corner, and the question is, where are you located? Please answer these questions to us, and we can move on. Well, I believe that everything is working. Our host said to me that everything is working. We can start. Well, before we handle to our expert, we have prepared a process for your questions, as you cannot unmute yourself. If you have any questions, please type your question on the Q&A box. At the end of this presentation, we're gonna answer as many we can. And if there is more questions than time, we're gonna answer all the questions via mail afterwards. Now, let's introduce our expert, Daniel Abbott. It's our engineer, the application engineer for the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, and we will present the features. Daniel, as we are curious to hear about SIPROTEC 5, a universal device for a medium voltage application, the stage is yours.
Well, thank you, Vinny, for that introduction. Siemens has a long history. It was founded back in 1847, and our experience in protection relays spans over a century, having produced our first devices in 1910. For almost 60 years, electromechanical-based relays were standard, being based on the typical black box applications. After this, we began to transition to electrostatic relays, and by the end of the 1970s, we had started in the digital world, though more in an experimental rather than on a commercial basis. In 1985, we introduced the 7SJ800. This was our first digital protection relay with our well-known compact design. It utilized dip switches for programming, but it did not yet have any communication interfaces. Almost 10 years later, the successor 7SJ600 was launched. This with communication interfaces, and it used software settings via our first simple DIGSI version, which was based on the MS-DOS operating system. The story goes on with our SIPROTEC Compact, which was brought onto the market in 2008 as the successor for our 600 series and was based on our SIPROTEC 4 philosophy. The SIPROTEC 5 started in 2012. This was our successor to the SIPROTEC 4, and it introduced completely new hardware design with very high flexibility and modularity. By 2015, we had produced more than 1.5 million digital devices, many of those still in field operation. But like good cheese or wine, relays also need time to mature. Accordingly, our Supertech 5 compact relays are designed and built on more than 110 years of protection experience from Siemens, and the protection algorithms are taken over from our Supertech 5 relays. Also, the internal structure is built on the Supertech 5, ensuring the same quality, maturity, and experience across the entire Siemens protection portfolio. And let's have a bit of a look on further. I'm proud to present the new Supertech 5 compact device and how it looks. With the Supertech 5 compact, we've had a clear focus on medium voltage, industry and infrastructure. And we know that our requirements here are for a simple and highly reliable device. The name, Supertech 5 compact, says it all. It's a combination of our Supertech 5 and our compact ranges. Taking our space-efficient Supertech compact devices, they're using their size, which is ideal for medium voltage applications, we combine this with the advantages of the field-proven Supertech 5 platform. This means you get the great Supertech 5 advantages, but now fitting into a smaller package. So the benefits. The large benefit here is you get the advanced functionality from the Supertech 5 range now into the Supertech compact footprint. So the Supertech 5 compact, it inherits the high-end functionality of the Supertech 5. The mature algorithms with features not previously available in the Supertech compact range, such as transient earth fault detection and power quality monitoring. Additionally, you're ready for the future. The Supertech 5 compact will take on the future Supertech 5 innovations that will be made available here due to the shared platform. Additionally, being part of the Supertech 5 family means less expenses and also less training effort for you, as you only need to use one configuration tool, Dixie 5, for projects with both our well-known Supertech 5 devices and for our brand new Supertech 5 compact relays. But this is not all. The Supertech 5 compact offers a universal approach which fits exactly to your application. Whether you need an overcurrent relay for a feeder, you want to protect the motor, or you need a relay for voltage applications, we've got you covered. Instead of having different device types, such as the 7SJ for feeder protection, the 7SK for motor protection, and the 7RW for voltage and frequency applications, your protection relay has now always one name, the 7SX800. The basic device contains already all the current-based functions needed to protect a feeder. Voltage-based functions or motor protection functions can easily be added anytime by using function points. With our universal power supply, the relay can be used anywhere, regardless of whether the auxiliary voltage is 24 volts or 250 volts. This means more flexibility for you. Just put the basic 7SX800 variant in stock and then define later what kind of protection you actually need for your specific application. Like the rest of our Supertech 5 platform, The 7SX800 allows you to pre-test the device without the need of a test set by simulating analog and digital values within the device. But with our digital twin, we take this a giant step forwards. You no longer even need a physical device to perform the tests. The cloud-based digital twin is a real-time digital replica of your physical SIPROTEC 5 compact device. It allows you to test your device in a convenient way from anywhere without any hardware, including from your home office. The results are shorter testing outages as your pre-tests can be performed in advance. Our digital twin also offers you the opportunity to show your customers in advance, virtually, all the possibilities of the SIPROTEC 5 compact devices. It also allows you to conduct training sessions on our protection devices flexibly at any location. In summary, our digital twin is the ideal solution for getting your protection devices up and running quickly, cost effectively, especially nowadays with all the travel restrictions that are in place. We know very well that the future offers a near endless spectrum of possibilities, especially when it comes to communication. But these are coupled with the potential threats of a digital landscape. To make sure that you are always on the safe side, we integrated all our advanced cybersecurity features as standard into the device. Encrypted communication between DIGSI 5 and the device prevents network sniffing and the unauthorized alteration of device settings. The SIPROTEC 5 compact device validates the source and the integrity of signed firmware to avoid cyber attacks being undertaken via corrupted firmware. All individual setting changes are recorded into the setting history log, and this enables you to determine whether setting changes are associated with misbehavior of the protection system. The device interfaces also have user configurable access restrictions to control the possible access to the device, meaning you can lock down specific ports to be read-only if required. But that's not all. To avoid anonymous changes to or operation of your SIPROTEC 5 compact, the device offers role-based access control that allows you to specify authorization levels based on the user role and access privileges. With SIPROTEC 5 Compact, you have all these security features already on board, whether you plan to use them today or just to activate them in the future if the regulations require you to. So, what's exciting about the hardware? Well, clearly, when we look at the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, we can see that it is definitely a part of the SIPROTEC 5 family with the same look and feel. The housing dimensions in particular enable very easy retrofit with our older compact series devices. It uses the same panel cutouts and mounting holes, meaning that no metalwork needs to be done in the panel for a retrofit application. There is a freely programmable coloured graphic display. The resolution is identical to that within the main SIPROTEC 5 devices. Besides the interfaces on the rear side, you can also connect to the web user interface or DIGSI via the USB front port. You can do this by plugging into the device with a standard USB cable, using any browser such as Internet Explorer or Google Chrome. The LED labels, they are shown on the display of the device, simply by pressing the LED description button. The advantage here, there's no ugly paper strips needed to be printed and slotted in after commissioning. Looking at the rear of the device, as I mentioned earlier, there's a wide-ranging power supply. There's only one universal power supply here for all voltages. DC, we cover 24 volts up to 250, and on the AC side, 80 volts up to 265 volts. This reduces the amount of variance required, and particularly if you're using various auxiliary voltage levels across all of your substations, it means you have less spare parts to hold as well. The black terminal on the left-hand side of the device, this is where an additional inbuilt I/O card can be mounted if required. Finally, the communication interfaces are always on board right from the beginning, and we'll give you some more information on that later when we look at the comms options. All in all, the hardware setup includes 4 CTs. These can be 4 protection class CTs for normal overcurrent applications, or we can have 3 protection plus a sensitive input if required for compensated earthing networks or similar. Optionally, we can include 4 VTs. The advantage of the 4th VT input here is that it allows you to perform synchro check in combination with all the other voltage-based functions that you would expect in the device. The base version, it comes with 4 binary inputs and 5 binary outputs. However, if you do require more I/O, you can do this by utilizing the additional I/O card, in which case you have 14 binary inputs and 11 binary outputs. The philosophy of the hardware is the same as it is for SIPROTEC 5. Via DIGSI, the web user interface, or the front keypad selection even, the CTs are software selectable between a 1 amp and 5 amp input, and likewise the binary input thresholds are programmable, switchable between 24, 110 and 220 volts DC. Just like the SIPROTEC 5, the batteries are exchangeable from the outside. The advantage here is you can leave the device powered up whilst you change the device, meaning no protection outages. Additionally, you don't need to open the device, keeping it sealed and minimizing or eliminating any risk of internal damage. The 7SX800 is very flexible and reliable. And part of the way that we achieve this is by making all the terminals extractable. There are several applications where this is particularly useful. The first of these is for cubicle manufacturers. Terminals can be ordered separately beforehand. This allows pre-wiring and testing of the cubicle without actually having to have the physical device on hand. What this allows then is for the protection relay to be tested and commissioned in parallel to the panel building. Once the device is commissioned and ready for installation, all you need to do is screw it into the panel and simply click the terminals into it. If for some reason that you needed to replace a device, the wiring is fully extractable by disconnecting the terminals off the rear of the device. Even the CT wiring can have this done. The advantage here is that after a device replacement, you don't need to retest all of your panel wiring to prove your terminations. This may be of particular advantage during shutdown conditions where you need to change a device very quickly. CTs have been integrated into the current terminals. The advantage here is that even if you remove the CT terminal block from the device, you never open the CT secondary windings. This means that the current loop of the primary CT is always closed by the resistor that's built into the terminal, and this prevents the generation of any dangerous voltages within your panel. Additionally, it's very simple to modify your device if required due to a different star point configuration in your network. So if it was to change from solidly grounded to compensated, to change the device to have a sensitive ground fault input, all you need to do is order a new CT block and change it over. You don't have to change the entire device. Now let's have a look at the communications. To make sure that the relay is ready for communication, the SIPROTEC 5 Compact is always equipped with a redundant Ethernet interface. The picture here shows the 2 Ethernet ports, F1 and F2. In our first release, the relay will always contain an optical Ethernet interface. It can be used for remote DIGSI access, and you can upgrade it via function points to support the IEC 61850 protocol. The redundancy protocols RSTP, PRP, and HSR will also be available. In the next release, we will be offering the option of an electrical Ethernet interface, as well as other Ethernet protocols that you know from our SIPROTEC 5 relays. For instance, DMP3, Profinet, Modbus TCP, etc. We know that a lot of our users still like to use serial protocols. Therefore, in the next release, the SIPROTEC 5 Compact will also support a serial interface that can alternatively be used also for IRIG-B time synchronization. You can see the serial interface in the center of the rear, labeled as port E. The SIPROTEC 5 Compact will support all serial protocols that are currently supported by the SIPROTEC 5, for instance, IEC 103 and Modbus serial. So you can see the SIPROTEC 5 Compact is always ready for communication. As the device is based on the SIPROTEC 5 platform, it's now possible to offer functions in our compact portfolio that so far have been reserved for use in our flagship brand of SIPROTEC 5. An example of this is sensitive ground fault protection. And the directional sensitive ground fault detection function, it detects ground faults in isolated and compensated systems. In the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, we offer multiple algorithms for the function to ensure that it can be perfectly adapted to the conditions of your power system and your customer philosophy. With our high sampling rate of 8 kilohertz, it's now possible to offer transient ground fault function, which allows for the detection of very short ground faults, and it's particularly ideal for meshed power systems. For the determination of a faulty feeder after switching, you can use a stage with phasor measurement using the third or fifth harmonics. Now, new to our compact series is also the admittance principle, and that's particularly common in some regions. To sum it up, whatever your network looks like, or whatever your end user philosophy is, we have the right method to detect ground faults integrated into the 7SX800. Another good example for our new possibilities is capacitor bank protection. Capacitors and capacitor banks, they're used for various applications. For example, we use them as reactive power compensation to stabilize voltage. We also use them as fast voltage and reactive power control, and increasingly more common as filter circuits to eliminate certain frequencies, particularly where inverter-based generation is located. The SIPROTEC 5 Compact is ideal to protect smaller sized capacitor banks because it has specific capacitor protection functions built in. With the single phase current unbalance protection, 60C by the ANSI code, the 7SX800 is able to protect capacitors with a double star point connection against internal faults, for instance of fused elements within capacitor cans. The peak over voltage protection, 59C, this is a specialized capacitor protection function quite different to standard over voltage, and this protects the capacitor's dielectric against peak over voltages. The 7SX800, it monitors additionally the local circuit breaker for restrike after opening, and if this was detected, it would then trip the upstream circuit breaker. And this is necessary as the capacitors discharge only quite slowly after being switched off, potentially leading to very high voltages across the circuit breaker poles. So as you can see, capacitor protection is a specialized function, and it is an integrated part of our SIPROTEC 5 Compact. Some interesting information now about the power quality basic functionality. Utilities, industry, and infrastructure, or even just simple consumers, all have an influence on power quality. Many applications are sensitive to power quality issues, and it can lead to unexpected risks such as faults, damages, or even production downtimes. Typically, we see power quality issues coming from several sources. Potentially, some of these include circuit breaker operations within the grid. This often leads to a voltage dip. The feeding of renewable energies, on the other hand, particularly distributed energy resources, can lead to voltage swells around your network. Non-linear loads or huge machines in industry can also cause harmonic distortions. Therefore, you need information about the power quality status on your network. And you can use this, achieve this by using the power quality basic functions available in the SIPROTEC 5 Compact. We can use this functionality for recognizing trends because, as mentioned, more and more voltage quality related problems are occurring. You can log any abnormal events and values. You can also get early warning messages at particularly sensitive areas or at critical infrastructure if some power quality values exceed a threshold. It also helps you to optimize your processes, or particularly to avoid unexpected extra costs, because power quality stability creates reliability and finally profitability. And because this is built in to the 7SX800, this is a cost-effective, easy and fast solution that can be rolled out to entire grids and huge power systems very quickly and easily. So what functions are available? Well, we have the ability to monitor voltage variations. Here we include the dip, swell and interruption of voltage. We can also monitor the voltage unbalance, which is where the phases are no longer exactly equal. We can look at total harmonic distortion. That's the RMS of the total harmonics over the RMS of the fundamental wave. Or additionally, we have the total demand distortion, which is similar, but slightly different. Here we're looking at the RMS of total harmonics compared to the peak demand current. So the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, as you can see now, it's truly a universal relay covering protection, power quality and automation issues. We know very well that your time is precious. So if you are new to the SIPROTEC world, we want to make sure that your entry into the SIPROTEC 5 Compact is smooth and fast. This begins already when you configure a relay. When you add the device into our configuration tool, DIGSI5, you are directly asked what you want to protect and what the application looks like. By selecting the proper application template, for example, a directional overcurrent relay in a solidly grounded system, DIGSI5 makes sure that the relay is already pre-configured with the necessary functions and routings. All the necessary preparations, like connecting current and voltage values to the protection functions, are already predefined, and you do not need to take care or worry about them during your configuration. These templates, well, they can be used as they are, or if you would like to modify them to suit a particular application that you have, you can do so, and then you can save them as application templates in the global library. Additionally, schematics are available in our manuals to show you how the binary inputs, outputs, CTs and VTs should be connected for these applications. When you do create these application templates, you'll often find that when you redeploy them, there's actually only a handful of parameters that need to be changed. For this, we've brought out our favorite settings. So when you're developing the template, as you find the parameters that you need to change on a regular basis, for instance, the overcurrent pickup, time multiplier, and curve type, there's a little star adjacent to those. Click that star and it becomes a favorite. And when you go to your favorites page in DIGSI5, it will list all of your favorite settings for that particular configuration in a single page. The advantage here is that it makes it fast, it reduces time, it makes it more accurate, you have less errors because you are inputting the information into the correct area every time, and it makes your process much faster. We know that a lot of our users like the possibilities that our Cfc Logic Editor offers. With the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, the creation of powerful logics is easier than ever before, with the built-in debugging tools in DIGSI5. The CFC online simulation, it allows you to help to test and troubleshoot your custom-built logic. The advantage here is that signals from the field are acquired in real time, and that way any changes or different states on the primary side can be immediately viewed and traced in the CFC monitoring so that the correct reaction of the CFC logic can be easily verified. This increases the safety and security of your own CFC logic. Very often, checklists for settings of a protection device are prepared and exchanged with the engineering department using a tool such as Microsoft Excel. And with our TAX plugin, you have the possibility to directly adapt DIGSI5 setting files in Excel. The XML-based DIGSI5 TAX plugin is intended to import, modify, and export SIPROTEC 5 Compact as well as other SIPROTEC 5 device settings using Microsoft Office Excel. The Excel structure is built up like the DIGSI5 structure, and it allows you to focus on your relevant settings by hiding the less important settings via group and ungroup buttons. Excel provides, therefore, a very comfortable way to adapt your settings. All the cells in light yellow colour indicate settings that can be modified. And if it's a fixed range of settings that can be chosen, well, these are easily selected from a drop-down selection box. Settings that can be entered as a value, for instance, a pickup of a current, these adjacent to the cell is displayed the range of allowed values. Values outside of this range are displayed as inconsistent to prevent you from entering any wrong values. Now, especially if you're using more than one parameter group, the TAX Excel plugin shows you a very good overview of your settings across all the different parameter groups. And this is of particular interest because the SIPROTEC 5 Compact offers up to 8 parameter groups in the device. Okay, looking now at operations. Imagine that a relay tripped and your whole production facility is stopped at your factory. Time now is crucial because every minute of outage is costing you money. What you need now is a fast analysis of the fault reason. Now is not the time to be searching your PC to try and find the configuration software. Instead, with the SIPROTEC 5 Compact, you can simply use our web user interface, or web UI, which gives you quick access to your relay just via a standard web browser. So the browser-based web UI, it's a comprehensive commissioning and monitoring tool. As you can see in the screenshot, it's a very simple software that's been optimized for touchscreens and ease of use. And this web user interface is a great help during your commissioning phase. You can check and adjust the values of a specific setting via the web browser, or you can even compare the values of 2 or more devices. But it also helps you during routine inspections whilst operating the device, as it offers you an easy way to check all types of measured values, even via a vector diagram. The web UI provides you also with an overview of the binary inputs, the outputs, and the LEDs with the actual live values, and it also allows you to view the status of what's on the LCD screen of the device. Last but not least, and drawing it back to that example of the relay tripping, you have easy access to the log files, and you're also able to download fault records using the well-known industry standard ComTrade format. Important to note here, though, is that this is a fully cyber secure solution. The connection is done via the encrypted HTTPS protocol, and via the settings in the software, the Ethernet interface access control, you can set the web UI to be read-only if required. To secure it further, you can use a standard connection password, or you can integrate it into your role-based access control system. So to sum it up, even if you're not familiar with DIGSI5, the web